Hey everybody, it's Commander Clyde. Welcome back to another SMITE patch notes review. And today, I'm going to be looking at the Trickster God 7.10 update. So, as you all will be aware, this is going to be the long-awaited Loki rework that was teased so many months ago. And we will not waste any time. There's the skins. We don't really spend much time on those, though. Not that interesting. Release schedule. There you go. Got the 7.9 bonus. October 6th is 7.10. And then October 20th will be the bonus to that. And of course, here it is, everybody. Loki fans and haters alike, the Loki rework is finally here. This trickster will have a mixture of familiar elements with some entirely new surprises to bring to the battleground. We focused on preserving the stealth assassin feel his kit evoked, but removed many of the frustrations surrounding him. Enemies should feel more in control when fighting against the Loki, having options to counter this incoming damage and a larger window to react. Loki mains should, however, find an array of new abilities to use when it comes to jungling and team fighting. All this is tied together with stronger lore ties and a doubling down on his dagger mastery. Prepare to face his tortured past and try your best to dodge his flurry of dagger strikes once this god hits the battleground. And of course, while the many Loki mains will argue that he was fine before and had depth, for objective about that, that's not really true. His main thing was he goes invisible, clears the wave without being seen, and then he tries to one-shot you. Like, there's not a whole lot to talk about. He was very single target focused. There was almost no team fighting capacity to him. And his strategies function completely different from any other god. It's kind of went against the, spirit of the game to have a god that is kind of entirely selfish and focused on stealth, not being seen, and then trying to kill you when the opportunity arises. That's kind of boring and uninteresting, and it does lack depth in most situations. Anyway, general changes: increase basic attack damage on the initial hit from 80 to 100% damage. Behind you will have additional interactions for the two new abilities, Agonizing Visions and Flurry Strike. Still got the classic Vanish. Loki will now fade into stealth quickly rather than instantly. If Loki takes damage while stealth, he will be revealed for 4.33 seconds. The audio for this ability has been adjusted. Friendly Loki stealth is slightly quieter. Enemy Loki stealth will have an additional laughter component to help it stand out. So now with Vanish, you can get a read as to where he might be going before he completely fades. And if you do find him, he will be revealed temporarily. Not completely, though. To sort of stay within the concept for the ability, it is called Vanish. So you do want him to at least be disappeared for a good amount of time, not just be immediately revealed by damage. That would kind of ruin the uniqueness of the ability. Anyway, decoy, that's gone. And now we have Agonizing Visions. Loki summons a vision of his tortured past at a target location for 4 seconds. Enemies in range of the vision feel the poison themselves, taking damage and having their damage dealt reduced. This effect stacks up to 4 times. If an enemy gets 4 stacks, they become blinded, allowing Loki to benefit from behind you from any direction for 3 seconds. So the important thing to note about blinds, there are not many gods in Smite that have one. I believe it's only 3 gods, counting Loki, actually have one. It's a type of CC that is a bit underutilized and always has been. At least they're trying to find a way to fit it in to the game somewhere. I do appreciate that. And I believe that this is also a AoE ability, and it does damage over time at the target location, with the stacked effect also happening up to 4 times. And it will also still body block targets as Decoy did before. However, this is not going to be, well, it could be depending on how you use it, but I would figure this is not going to be his main clear. The aim strike has been removed and replaced with Flurry Strike. Loki unleashes a flurry of 5 dagger strikes quickly in front of him, damaging enemies. After this flurry, he winds up for a final heavy strike that deals higher damage and slows enemies' hit. This ability can benefit from behind you. Flurry damage 15 up to 55 plus 15% of your physical power. Final damage is 40 up to 140 plus 60% with a 30% slow for 3 seconds, which you can then use to apply this, of course. Get more damage off. That would be a good combo there. Likely this will be his main clear, which now changes his decision making a little bit to decide, do I want to use my clear or do I want to save this ability to fight with? Because before you would just decoy to clear and then you can fight however you want. This, since the clear is not so simple anymore, there's a little bit more of thought process involved about how you decide to use the abilities. So anyway, I'm going finally to Assassinate, which still functions about the same way, but it's a little bit different. Assassinate has undergone a heavy adjustment to its functionality. Upon activation, Loki teleports to his ground target location. If an enemy god is within the radius, Loki will slice that target, doing damage and crippling them for 1 second. After he teleports, he will wind up a heavier strike, damaging all enemies in front of him and stunning them. Cripple damage is 70 to 210 plus 35%, and then heavy is 100 to 280 plus 90% of your physical power. There's not going to be a significant damage drop off from how Assassinate originally worked, except now it will be separated into 2 hits. And only the second hit will do this, will have a stun. Also, this ability has kept the teleport poof and warning sounds in addition to new sounds to convey the buildup of the stun attack. And if Loki's not CC immune, could you interrupt this? I don't know for sure. I have not seen it yet. I would be led to believe that you can interrupt it. So anyway, your combo is going to be kind of the same thing. So you're going to, of course, Assassinate, do that Flurry Strike, drop this if you want to. Also, it might make more sense for the stun to get this free, because this is gives you free hits from this, and then you can hit the Flurry Strike. So there's still a good combo there. He doesn't do the damage as quickly as he did before, because before it was Assassinate in half a second, then you get hit with the aim strike and then you're dead. So he basically killed you in about a second or less, depending on how good the Loki is with their buttons, which is just that's really frustrating for a god that you barely see ever fight you, and then he comes out and pops you for a second and then you're dead. It's like, well, what the hell am I supposed to do with this, huh? That frustration is gone for the most part, it seems. Now you got a little more counterplay around him, and if he does ult you, it's not a complete death sentence. Although for a good Loki player, you're probably still in trouble, obviously. I think this kit will work fine for experienced Loki players. They just don't seem to like the fact that the new kit requires more decision making to decide how you want to use the abilities. And you have to think about how you're going to clear. And you can't just disappear and hide the whole game until you hit level 20 and can just one-shot everybody. Which I don't know why some Loki mains are so frustrated with the change, to be honest. I guess it's just because I don't play Loki. But the way I've seen him play, just I don't think jives with SMITE very well when you consider how most other gods work. And that, I think, is what was really frustrating. And the people that were playing maining Loki were totally fine with that kind of a play style that's not interesting and doesn't have depth and is incredibly frustrating. I guess maybe that's a personality thing. I have an issue with actually playing Loki the way that, in that style. It bothers me to do that to people. I like to just fight people, dude. It's fun. That's what this game's about. It's a multiplayer online battle arena. I want to fight people. Loki doesn't fight people. He runs around the map like a jackass and doesn't really do anything until late in the game. Anyway, it's enough of a Loki rant. Bottom line is, I think I like the kit change personally. I mean, I know I'll enjoy playing the god more with that kit than his previous one. So, do we talk about bug fixes? I mean, I don't know. This probably is not interesting, so maybe we skip it. Yeah. I'll skip the bug fixes. Let's talk about this. Game modes. As the fall season is upon us, so is the return of SMITE adventure modes. The team is fully focused on creating the brand new Season 8 Conquest map, so we won't be bringing any new adventures out this year. We will be revisiting Classic Joust, Domination, and Corrupted Arena over the next 3 updates. We are aware that Medusa's Deathmatch is a fan favorite, but the 3-team UI of this mode creates many problems in the game and is preventing us from bringing the mode back for now. Please clear that. Okay. Classic Joust mode has been enabled for this update. It will only be available for play during the Trickster God update. So when the next update goes live after October 6th, whenever that happens to be, probably won't be until the first week of November. We will have Classic Joust. Very fun. Anyway, item changes. Atlanta's Bow. This item was the target of a major rework in the mid-season update, with many players finding it to feel a little too strong. Mage ADCs took over the game for a few months, making it hard to see the impact of physical hunters, but we can now finally see their strength. This item is the premier 20% pen item for hunters. Every damage class has one, and we intend to keep this item at 20%. But the rest of the stats need to feel balanced to a high pen item, so we are taking the attack speed down as well as the movement speed from the passive. Increase attack speed from 30 to 25%, decrease movement speed while attacking, and strafing from 40 to 30% of your movement speed. Silver Branch Bow, same thing. Taking the attack speed down to make the passive feel less intense. Tiny text, decreased attack speed from 35% to 30%. How tiny that is. Glad Shield rework. I don't know why we're coming back to this item. The loss of healing on Glad Shield has shaken the soul lane meta to its core. I wouldn't say that personally. It really depends on the god you're picking. The shakeups were good, but the new item wasn't. We are improving this item in a few more ways to stay true to its spirit as a damage option for tanks. Now, the item will feature a fairly unique mechanic where it deals increased bonus damage based on protection scaling. This should allow warriors to better itemize into a backline diving strategy. They say this shaking the soul lane to its core, but, if you're going to play Hercules, Amaterasu, Mulan, Bellona, Osiris, hell, if you're going to play Erlang Shin, which no one does anymore, which is a shame, he's still a good soul laner, but that's a debate for another time. There's plenty of other options. I mean, you got some Guardians too. There's plenty of other options of gods that didn't really use this item, or in the case Guardians can't use it. So I don't think it was really that big of a shake to the solo meta. It just brought down King Arthur, Tyr, and who else? those are the first two that come to mind, obviously, and there's certain other gods that use it well, like Kukulkan and Sun Wukong, and which are not necessarily, you know, the most popular pick. Well, Kukulkan is pretty popular. Sun Wukong is not really. But I think there's not that many gods that really use this item exceedingly well. So I don't think it was that big of a change, personally. But anyway, decreased cost from 2,500 to 2,400, which should have happened because stat-wise it doesn't provide enough for its cost. Or, yeah. Passive has been changed. Damage dealt from 15 plus 2 per level to 15 plus 35% of your total protections from items, magical plus physical from items and abilities. Increase from abilities too. Okay, so Hercules just gets free power from free damage from that. That's stupid. Increased bonus damage activation threshold from 50% to 60%. This becomes a very interesting thing, but this seems like a very much a late game use item because you don't get the most out of it until late game when you have most of your prods. I mean, that's a significant change. Does that new bonus damage overcome the fact that the stats are still kind of bad for a tier 3? You know, we'll see. This encourages you to get more protections and things like that, but it's like there's some gods that want to fit in a Soul Eater, which would make this less effective because you're not going to have as many prots, blah blah blah, you know, whatever. At least it's total protection, so you can build items that give you both types and still have it be very effective. We'll see. Some people think this is going to make this a huge item. We'll have to see how builds shake out. Anyway, Emperor's Armor, we have been continually looking for support items that feel underwhelming, and we have some bigger plans in the future, but for now we have identified Emperor's Armor as needing some help. This item can be a very strong pickup for the true support players, especially in Conquest, and a little extra protection should make them feel a lot better than building into this item. Increase physical protections from 40 to 50. Well, alright. The new height scales of protections preventing squishies from using it. However, the protection scaling was a little too easily attainable, allowing tanks to get the stacks too soon and too easily. We are increasing the amount per stack required to slow this down just a little. Increased protections required per block stack from 100 to 120. So you only get 2 if you got 240 prods, which means you can't get 3 because you cap at 340. Okay. Well, there you go. No more 3 stack. Anyway, God balance on her. This line certainly won't be cowardly next update, but he's not. On her tends to stay low win rate. How? Even when pros are happy to pick him in certain metas. One thing we have been hearing is that his movement ability feels a bit too old and outdated. We are speeding this up to help it feel up to today's standards. So is it going to be Hu Yi time? Decrease setup time from 0.275 to 0.15. Decrease leap time from 0.975 to 0.85. Which means you can jump quicker too and get out of abilities. It's interesting. I guess that's fair considering how like how fast Hu Yi can hit the ground with his. I don't know. I don't know how this guy could be low win rate. He's one of the most versatile hunters in the game. Has been. He's got a big AoE slow that gives him bonus damage. He's got a jump. He's got an impale with a knockback and a stun if you hit into the wall. It's great for peel. His ult does a ton of damage and it's CC immune. How? You have to be bad at the game to not have good games on this character. I don't know, man. Low win rate. I mean, I guess the numbers say that, but what? That's weird to me. But this change is kind of unrelated to that. This is fair. Anyway, Apollo, get ready to put moves on him. Apollo ahem, is going to be styling with his dash being sped up in a similar way to Anher's leap. We are hoping these changes will breathe some life into some older hunters that certainly have the potential to be in the meta. I don't like this one as much because his dash time's already, 0.65. That's lower than what this is. I don't think you needed to do that, but okay. Aries, the master of arena, continues to struggle in conquest. For this buff, we look specifically at Aries' underwhelming ability and what he seems to lack for success in conquest. We are adding some HP sustained to bolster defenses to provide Aries with some much needed recovery, as well as to make bolster how do you speak? Bolster defenses, a more attractive ability to put a point into. Now provides 10 up to 30 HP 5 to himself and allies affected by the aura, which also encourages you to use this ability out of combat. Which is, that's a cool thing. I like that. Kind of feels like, the Terrorist 3, you can use it offensively, but you can also use it defensively to heal your teammates. I like this one. RDO, this goddess ever shape-shifting from meta to meta with very few balance changes to the goddess directly. We have seen her rise and fall a few times. Certain pros have a preference for her, which certainly helps. Reverting a nerf to her heal to empower her as a support to make sure she feels like a viable duo lane choice. But what about solo? Increase energy search heal from 40 to 120 60 to 140 per enemy god hit. That is a revert. Apparently it used to be that. I like RDO in solo lane more than I do in support, just because her kit is built so well for that lane. She can be very offensive and deal a lot of damage with it, and it's also high sustain. We love those two things in the solo lane. Anyway, Baron Samedi. The party's going to keep on going until Baron can successfully play the mid lane. Some recent small damage buffs have moved him in the right direction, but he's not quite there. There are still a lot of incentives to build him hybrid or tanky, so we are looking to increase the power scaling of his primary damaging ability. I believe this used to be 70, but see 9% to 80.5 when hitting both. I think it was 70 before. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm thinking of his 2. Anyway, Fenrir. Time to throw this dog a bone. Fenrir received some recent buffs that only made a small impact. The god has a very specific role in singling out and killing an enemy god with his ultimate, which we are aiming to improve. Movement speed gets heavily hit by diminishing returns when at such high numbers, so this change shouldn't be as huge as it may appear, but it will help Fenrir chase down his target more effectively. We are also partially reverting the rather heavy damage nerf to Unchained that resulted from the Fenrir support meta. Chain increased base damage. Ooh, fun. 75 to 315 to 85 to 325, so we get 10 more. Ragnarok increased movement speed from 50 to 75%. Yeah, dude. This is fun stuff. I love Fenrir. Real fun. The last time I played it, well, I played him in duel, but I also played a casual match in jungle with him, and it was pretty good. 9 kills. Yeah. Hey. This god, I think, worked in jungle kind of already with where he was, This will make him more attractive in that spot again for general meta. Of course, I still liked Fenrir in jungle just because he's pretty fun and fairly intuitive for the role. Anyway, Hachiman. Calling all snipers, Eagle Eye buff incoming. This is a unique ability which allows Hachiman to hit enemy gods with basic attacks from an unmatched range. The god used to see a lot of pro play when we wanted to be careful with its launch, so this ability was intentionally underpowered for a while. We are bringing it up to feel more impactful, hopefully keeping Hachiman in the hunter meta. Increased bonus damage for under 55 range, 10 to 25, and over 55 from 0 to 15 have both been increased to 10 to 30 damage. Okay, this ability now deals the same amount of damage at all ranges. Ooh, fun. Kept it underpowered. I mean, you know, this is an interesting thing because there's only one other god that gets, you know, increased range on autos, and that's Xbalanque. And that's on an ultimate. So that's not quite as cool. It's because it's not available to you all the time. But then this, you can pop the ability, and there you go, big range on the autos. Of course, you only get a certain number of autos, whereas Xbalanque can do as many as he wants in that amount of time. Well, while his ult is active, anyway. Osiris, the god of the afterlife, has fallen to pieces. I've seen it. Mid-season hurt Osiris more than most warriors, and he's still struggling to catch up even with the strong warrior items available. Osiris is known for his high pressure, so we are taking steps to improve the aspect of his design and make sure it persists into the late game. Increased damage scaling, oh no, not again, will give Osiris more reasons to build power, and a sizable increase to the range of his ultimate will make him much better at chasing down enemies. Sickle Strike, increased physical power scaling from 40 to 45%. Lord of the Afterlife, increased the max range from 55 to 65 units. Don't know what happened to Osiris, because while he was building Glad Shield, the change to that item should not have affected him very much. So the position he's at in the game is not, it does not feel related to that, because it's too significant of a drop off when there are other gods that use the item that are still in a better spot than he was. So that's kind of rules that out. I'm not really sure what happened to Osiris and why he's felt less potent in the solo meta. I can't really give a good answer as to what I think happened. The Glad Shield contributed to that, but I don't know. Gotta be something else going on. Maybe some of the other new itemization they introduced just worked better on other gods and it put him behind. That's really the only other thing I could think of. Anyway, Serket, the queen of the SPL, has fallen. For years, this god was considered unbuffable due to her constant participation in competitive play. Recently, we have seen her fall off more and more due to some direct nerfs a while back, as well as meta shifts. Serket, even at her absolute peak, usually fails to put up much win rate, so these buffs feel safe to bring her back into the competitive scene, specifically by encouraging an aggressive high-power playstyle. Ambush, increased physical power scaling from 50 to 70%, decreased cooldown on Cobra's Kiss from 18 to 16 seconds. So yeah, the meta shift, Serket's main problem is she wasn't an instant kill type of assassin. You know, we weren't looking at things like Raven or Thanatos or Susano or, you know, other gods that can go on a single target and kill them quickly. Serket's usually more about isolating a target for her team because of how her ult and Cobra's Kiss usually work most of the time, at least not with where items are right now. She's not getting that really massive damage off from her one that she used to be, so she can't just immediately one-shot somebody. She's usually relying more on her team to kill a target that she has locked down. And so yeah, that's going to put her behind other gods that can immediately attack a single target and kill it right away. Right, and the final thing, Vamada. This big guy has had a few recent adjustments to his movement speed rules during Colossal Fury. The previous movement speed was quite strong, and the current one is feeling a little too weak. The experiment with partial haste effects on Atalanta's bow seems successful, so we were trying that out on gods. Colossal Fury decreased the movement penalty for attacking, backpedaling, and strafing by 20% while active. Interesting. Not a significant thing there, but decreasing the penalty for attacking is a big deal since he's already currently gaining for each auto that he gets up to like, what, 3 stacks or something? I don't actually remember the numbers. That'll be an interesting change to play out. Anyway, with that, we are done here with the Trickster update. PTS is apparently not out, so I don't know what's going on with that. So nobody's really gotten to try the new Loki changes. Hopefully they'll have that ironed out soon, and we can check that out and see how it is. Anyway, with that, guys, thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Leave a comment down below if you have anything to add about the upcoming update. Don't forget to check the helpful links down in the description, and I'll see you guys next time for some more Smite. Have a good one.